En la verdad, la verdad.
Good afternoon. Notice of a public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a regular meeting on December 12, 2023 at 5 p.m. in the City Commission chambers located on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall Old Federal Building located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street. Members of the public who submitted a public comment form will be permitted to offer public comments as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting. A recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Meetings Act. Mayor, it is now 5:03. You may call the meeting to order.
All right, being that we do have a quorum present, I'd like to call today's meeting to order.
Next item is invocation. Ms. Alicia Justilin will be providing us the invocation.
Good evening, everyone. If we can just bow our heads, please. Father in heaven, we thank you for another day as we come together. Lord, at this time, we pray first of all for the family of Judge Ben Neese. We pray for you to embrace them and comfort them as they grieve the loss of Mr. Neese. We believe in your word that says to be absent from the body is to be present with you. We are grateful for his life, his service to our great citizens that make up our city, and the legacy he left to his family and to us. Father, we also pray that you lead this meeting tonight. Guide our mayor and our city commissioners as they discuss and take vote on many important issues. Lord, help them in their decision-making and bless them in the positions you have given them. We pray for every person who is here and who are connected virtually. We thank you for the city staff who work faithfully to make sure the equipment is working properly. Bless them, Lord. And may everything that is said and done here tonight give you glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Just to the flag, United States of America. Honor the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Next, we have proclamations. The first proclamation we have recognizing and honoring Ambassador Juan Carlos Cue Vega.
Okay, this is a proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, recognizing and honoring Ambassador Juan Carlos Cue Vega. Whereas Ambassador Juan Carlos Cue Vega has devoted 38 years of exemplary service as a diplomat, contributing significantly to the enhancement of international relations, particularly between Mexico and the United States. Whereas Ambassador Cue Vega has passionately supported events held by the City of Brownsville, the U.S. Consulate General in Matamoros, Brownsville Police Department, and local community organizations such as Charro Days Association, Mr. Amigo Association, Brownsville Historical Association, Revival of Cultural Arts, Brownsville Museum of Fine Art, Camille Playhouse, Proyecto Juan Diego, and Friendship of Women, to name a few. Whereas Ambassador Cue Vega has exhibited unparalleled expertise in various crucial areas, including immigration, human rights, international law, environmental affairs, community affairs, cultural affairs, international trade, and education. Whereas Ambassador Cue Vega earned a law degree and a political analysis certificate from the prestigious Universidad Iberoamerica in Mexico City in 1982, further enriching his academic background with political philosophy courses at the University of Strasbourg in France from 1982 to 1984, and diplomatic training at the Mateus Romero Institute of Diplomats, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mexico City in 1985. Whereas Ambassador Cue Vega has held distinguished positions in the Foreign Service, including Deputy Consul General in the Consular Section at the Mexican Embassy in Washington, D.C. from 1985 to 1990, Director of Protection Affairs for Mexicans Abroad at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Mexico City from 1990 to 1994, Consul of Mexico in Brownsville, Texas from 1994 to 1997, Director General of International Legal Affairs for the Office of the Attorney General of Mexico in Mexico City from 1997 to 1998, Consul General in the Consular Section at the Mexican Embassy in Washington, D.C. from 1998 to 2000, Consul General of Mexico in El Paso, Texas from 2000 to 2004, Coordinator for the Regional Offices of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Mexico City from 2004 to 2006, and Ambassador of Mexico in Kenya, Africa from 2006 to 2009. Whereas during his tenure to the Embassy of Mexico in Kenya, Ambassador Cue Vega demonstrated exceptional diplomatic skill, accreditation before various African countries, including Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, Eritrea, Seychelles Islands, and serving as the permanent representative of Mexico to the United Nations Human Settlements Program and the United Nations Environmental Program. Whereas Ambassador Juan Carlos Cue Vega continued to serve with distinction as Consul General of Mexico in Dallas, Texas from 2009 to 2012, Director General for the Office of Foreign Missions in Mexico City from 2012 to 2016, and a second term as Consul of Mexico in Brownsville, Texas from 2016 to 2023. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the charter of said city, and on behalf of all our citizens, and on the occasion of the celebration for the bicentennial of the diplomatic relations between Mexico and the United States, do hereby recognize and honor Ambassador Juan Carlos Q. Vega for his achievements. Done on this, the 12th day of December, 2023, signed the mayor and the city commissioner of Brownsville, Texas.
Si gustaría puede ir al frente a decir unas palabras. Y por mientras, nada más quiero decir muchísimas gracias por su servicio, 38 años. Es un placer de tener buenas relaciones con nuestra hermana Matamoros. Y estoy bien agradecida porque ustedes siempre van a los eventos de nuestra ciudad y por eso yo bien agradecida por todo el apoyo y le deseo lo mejor en su nueva etapa y también pues le deseo muchísimas gracias también a Judith Arrieta, que ahora es la cónsul y nada más buenos deseos para ambos.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Primero que nada, muchas gracias, Mayor Owen, muchas gracias por esta atención, este gesto, y gracias a los demás comisionados, mis amigos, que han sido muy gentiles en hacer esta proclama para reconocer mi trabajo. He estado 2 veces en Brownsville, un total de 10 años en mis 2 adscripciones aquí, y he logrado hacer muchísimos amigos. Tengo un gran cariño por esta ciudad y como comentaba con el alcalde, muchos deseos de que siga creciendo y siga siendo una ciudad que gane en importancia en lo económico, en lo social, en lo cultural y se convierta en una región a la que todo el mundo quiera venir. Estoy seguro que el trabajo de este grupo de comisionados bajo la dirección del alcalde, el manejo efectivo del dinero de parte de Helen hará que esta ciudad siga creciendo mucho. Muchas gracias. Me llevo el cariño de todos ustedes. Trataré de permanecer en la ciudad de Brownsville lo más que pueda porque estoy realmente muy encantado aquí. Les agradezco mucho. Buenas tardes y muy amables. Feliz Navidad a todos. Gracias.
Gracias.
Next proclamation, we have recognizing Charles Tad Passy.
Which way? That way. A proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, recognizing the community and municipal service of Charles Tad Hassey. Whereas leading a life which includes service to others, recognizing the path to serve the greater good, and making that the manner in which you live day to day is an example all should strive for. And whereas Charles Tad Hassey has been such an example as an outstanding servant to the community of Brownsville and to the city of Brownsville throughout his adult life, making significant contributions locally over many years. Tad served as a Scoutmaster with Boy Scouts of America, serving Pac 5 in Brownsville, Troop 61 in Los Fresnos, and Troop 1 at the Brownsville Elks Lodge number 1032. He was a key leader for countless Scouts as they served their communities, earned their honors, and rose to the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas Tad served the city of Brownsville Municipal Court for 15 years in information technology, serving under the honorable presiding judges Ben Neese, Bobby Lerma, and René de Cos, where he helped drive and foster the culture and philosophy that the municipal court exists to serve the citizens and not City Hall. He served as interim director of the municipal court for a time, a position which he handled perfectly, in the words of a past presiding judge. He was instrumental in the development of the municipal court's contingency plan, which was successfully implemented and operated without modification during COVID, which ensured efficient operation of the court and clearing of clerical backlogs and the loaning of well-trained employees to other departments in need until the day they reopened to the public for business. And whereas Tad is viewed by former co-workers as someone who worked with other departments regardless of how the assistance was received, all in the interest of service, and as a great teacher with great ideas, capable of running the whole department and always inspiring leadership and service. And by former presiding judges as a superb asset, someone who knew the court from top to bottom. He was the institutional knowledge everyone looked for, the unofficial training officer for new hires who had employees up and running quickly, the morale builder and counselor to his fellow employees who gathered everyone in need and guided them. He was the only staff member of the municipal court who was always on call, available day or night, rain or shine. His willingness to help transcended his IT responsibilities, whatever the problem was. He was renowned for his quick wit, kind words, fierce loyalty, unbound generosity, but most of all as a friend to all. And whereas the key to Tad's success can best be summed up as working as part of the family, the team at the municipal court, they brought out the best in him as he worked to bring out the best in them. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the charter of said city, and on behalf of all our citizens, do hereby recognize Charles Tad Hassey for his humanity and his service to the community and to the city of Brownsville, and further encourage all residents to recognize the same and to be inspired by this fine example of service to others in our community. Done this 12th day of December 2023, signed by the Mayor and City Commissioners, City of Brownsville.
Got it?
I never set out to be recognized like this. The reason this occurred was not because of me, because of the people I worked with. They pushed me here. I was formally trained by the Boy Scouts to be a trainer of trainers, of leaders. And I know that's a mouthful. I took that back and I take it wherever I go. Leadership doesn't mean you're in charge. I was the IT tech at the municipal court. I wasn't in charge of anything, but I worked with the staff. We all knew what we needed to do, and they brought out the best in me, and I tried to bring out the best in them. And this recognition really isn't of me. From people like Judge DeCos, Marina, people I worked with, they pushed me here. They pushed me to be my best. And I'd like to think that this tradition continues. We never lost sight of the fact that we work for the people. The people allow us to do this job because they've got other things to do with their lives, okay? It's more important to think, how can I help, than who's next in line. And as long as we keep that attitude, who we work for will do just fine. When you do what the people want, you're never wrong in a democracy, ever. This great honor comes at also a time of great sadness with the passing of my friend, Ben Neese. He's not here, and the world is a poorer place for it. But if Ben were here tonight, I know exactly, without a doubt, what words he would say to me. Rock on, dude. Everybody who knows Ben knows he would say that. I thank you all very much from the bottom of my heart for this. I really don't feel deserving. They're the people who deserve it. Thank you very much.
Next, we have public comment period. As a friendly reminder, public input during meetings, conversations between or among audience members should be conducted outside the meeting room. Attendees should refrain from conversations while commission is in session. Cell phones, attendees must refrain from the operation and use of cellular telephones, pagers, etc., or any mechanical devices that may disrupt city commission proceedings. Placards, banners, or signs are not permitted in the commission chambers or in any other room in which the city commission conducts a meeting. Included in this prohibition are various hats, caps, visors, and T-shirts, which may represent sentiments as alluded to regarding placards, banners, and/or signs. Exhibits, displays, and visual aids used in connection with presentations to the city commission are permitted. Only city commission members and city staff may approach the dais. If report, letter, etc. is to be presented to the commission, it should be given to the city secretary or staff who will make the distribution. It is preferable that the item to be distributed be given to the city secretary prior to meeting time. A copy of the item should be made available for the city secretary's official record. All comments shall be made to the mayor and city commission as a whole and not to individual commission members. Mayor, we received 4 public comments. Only 3 wish to address the commission. We have Ms. Yolanda Spies. Have 3 minutes.
I go?
Yes.
Well, looks like you were spared the wrath of Krampus, so I guess you should count your blessings that he didn't drag you to hell or eat you. Yet. Every first and third Tuesday of the month, every month since April 18th, I've been telling you about how the police have broken the law, police procedure, how they tampered with my cases, my civil cases, how unprofessional they have behaved, and the emotional and verbal abuse and stress they have caused me. And as their bosses, your job should be to look into it and reprimand the officers who broke the law and the lies they told to me and other residents. Commander Pascal, gentleman back there, he lied to me to my face in front of 2 witnesses, and then while lying to me, admitted that he tampered with my civil cases, and then tampered with my witnesses and intimidated them out of contact with me and testifying. I have those texts, and I will gladly share them with you. If you will meet with me to see my evidence, I've got a lot of it. Remember, elections are only 18 months away, and some of you are standing on shaky ground, even though you don't realize it yet. I mentioned names, I gave you dates, I told you in detail how they treated me, yet here we are, and there is nothing you have done other than to offer to facilitate a pet adoption, but no effort to hold the police officers responsible who've caused all of this. They still have their jobs, they still have their pensions, and this should be rectified. Sorry, when you are bullied, you cannot just tell the bullied person, we took care of it. You have to tell us how. Were they reprimanded? Did they get fired? Did they get put on garbage shifts? What happened? How are they being held responsible for their negligent, rude, ignorant, unprofessional, and yes, inappropriate behavior? Favorite word used by some of you. I have been waiting for your call. I have my purse taken from me because you think I'm going to hurt you for not doing something about this. Or would I ruin my life by hurting any of you and possibly get myself killed in the process? You all aren't worth it, and it is so much more fun to keep coming in here and making you squirm. You refuse to do anything, and I'm going to keep coming here to point out how awful Commander Pascal, Officer Cervantes, Sergeant Cecilia Valdez, the Chief of Police, Assistant City Attorney Jennifer Avendaño, the list goes on these people who just enabled this behavior. But these people are dangerous, and you don't realize it. I won't stop talking about what they did and how you all are running interference for the thief who committed a felony and corrupt police officers who refuse to do right by law-abiding citizens. You need to realize that the world makes many turns, takes many turns, and the day is going to come when you all are facing karma or Krampus. It isn't going to be pretty. The chickens are going to roost, and you all are going to be covered in bird feces for what you won't do for me and other Brownsville residents. I wish you a miserable holiday because you made sure mine is miserable by doing nothing to hold horrible, corrupt police officers responsible.
Next, we have Mr. Velez. Next, we have Terry Avalos. Ms. Avalos, you have 3 minutes.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Tori Avalos, and I'm representing the residents of the Jenkins subdivision. First of all, thank you for allowing me to speak today to the city commissioners and the mayor. I am respectfully requesting to stop the construction duplex on unit at 1305 Bernard Street, corner of Bernard and Boca Chica, for the reason that the residents did not get public notice. The property was sold on 7/10/2019 to the owner, zoned as a residential, but pre-approved zoning for a multifamily commercial. However, back in June 18, 2020, the city planning conducted a Zoom public hearing to discuss the zoning of this property from dwelling A to apartments. This request from the property owner was denied. In December 1, 2020, our area was rezoned to the traditional neighborhood as per the City of Brownsville Unified Development Code. However, we once again were not notified. As a result of this action, the corner lot is now considered commercial. We, the residents, are against this rezoning. We're against this decision and respectfully request to reverse the decision for 2 reasons: retain the integrity of the residential area and the traffic congestion. And if I may, yesterday in the afternoon, because this happened pretty quickly, I did obtain 13 signatures were all the residents of the Jenkins subdivision, and I would like to submit them for your consideration. Thank you.
Next, we have consent agenda items.
I'll move to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent
Second.
agenda items. We have a second. Any further discussion? If not, please, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Next, we have public hearings. Public hearing number 1. Public hearing in action on second and final reading on ordinance number 2023-1733, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville amending Chapter 22 to add Article 14, establishments not licensed by the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, and amending the city's master fee schedule to adopt annual permit and inspection fees and other related matters.
Mayor, City Commission, this is a final reading of ordinance 2023-1733, which establishes regulations for commercial establishments that are not licensed by the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. On November 22nd, we conducted an additional workshop with the affected owners of the ordinance. It was restated that the position from the city was that we were going to move forward with the ordinance that prohibits consumption of alcohol after 2:15 a.m. The owners commented during the workshop that based on their current trends to include after hours and establishments that sell alcohol, that they did not believe that a restriction of 2:15 a.m. for BYOB was a viable business model. And their intentions were to close the businesses should the ordinance go into effect. The owners asked if there could be an extension before the ordinance takes effect so they could negotiate with the owners of the buildings to get out of their leases. Participants were encouraged to give comments to the public hearing tonight. To recap the public engagement we provided for this ordinance, on October 3rd, we had a presentation. On October 13th, we had our first town hall and it was well received. There were 23 participants. And again, on November 22nd, we hosted a second town hall with the affected owners. To recap, the ordinance establishes that a BYOB establishment is a public place. And a key provision would limit the hours of operation of the business to 2:15 a.m. The city is not advocating shutting down these businesses. Instead, we are bringing these establishments into operational conformity with other alcohol serving establishments. The other provisions in the ordinance include that as managers on duty, 18 years of age to enter, approved security plan, minimum security requirements, parking areas well lit, a security officer per 100 patrons, and proper signage. If you recall on our first reading of the ordinance, we provided the police calls for service for the establishments from September 2022 to September 2023. At our November 22nd workshop with the owners, they requested an updated police calls for service, specifically for October and November this year. The 2-month call volume was 22 calls for service. The data also showed that all 22 calls for service were after 3 a.m. Using the 2 months, those 2 months for a 12-month projection, we anticipate approximately 132 calls for service, basically staying status quo with after hours. This is a public hearing.
Commander, first and foremost, thank you guys for going above and beyond to communicate with the business community. It's greatly appreciated. I know there was some confusion, and you guys have been awesome in coming back and sitting down and talking to everyone. So thank you for that.
All right, this is the public hearing. If there's anyone here that,
Do we have to draw?
do we have to withdraw from the table?
Final reading. This wasn't tabled, correct?
Yeah, this was tabled, so we will have to pull it from the table prior to discussion.
Okay.
Right now, we're in the public hearing portion.
Okay. All right. Please state your name and for the record.
Good evening, I'm Rick Zayas. I'm here on behalf of the Doghouse, which is one of the establishments. Apparently at this time, there's only basically 2 establishments that are open. Well, I don't have any problems, the clients don't have any problems with all the provisions that have been put in there, the safety provisions, the provisions regarding metal detectors, the provisions regarding security officers for every 100 patrons and the like. The major difference is if the 2:15 a.m. is put in there, it's basically going to close down their business because it's no different than a regular bar. But the difference here is they don't serve liquor at all. This is an establishment that people that are in the industry themselves can go out after they finish working at their bars. They can have a place to go. I'm just asking that the provision be changed to 4 o'clock in the morning. Right now, most of them are staying open till 5. If they were limited to 4 o'clock, it would be amenable to us. Also, if they wanted to change the days from Monday through Saturday to just Friday and Saturday, that would be amenable also. In addition, holidays, because on holidays, there's people that are out partying, having a fun time. It's a unique opportunity. If they're gonna if you all do want to change it to the way it is, we ask that they be given, the ones that are grandfathered right now, be given a reprieve to close, and stay operational for 180 days at least. They got to get out of some leases. They got to fulfill some contracts they have for parties. They have to fill some contracts they have for some artists that they already have set up, equipment rental agreements and the like. So it's going to take time to wind down. One of the thing I noticed reading the proposed ordinance is one of the exceptions to the ordinances is residences. It's a dangerous thing to leave open as a exception to the ordinance, because what's going to happen is you're going to have some black market places renting homes, having them there, and then you're going to have no control whatsoever as to what happens in those locations after hours. Anybody have any questions for me? Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to come?
Well, I own one of the businesses also. So there's actually 4.
Can you please
operating
state
right
your
now.
name for the record, sir?
Can you
please?
state your name, please?
I'm sorry. My name is Camilo Perez, and I run Chaparral Nightclub. Like I stated, there's 4 businesses that are operating as BYOBs. I've been doing this for 15 years. I originally opened up the first one, 2008. Well, actually, original Chaparral. And all these incidents have been happening, just started happening within this past year, or the reason we had these meetings this past year. And I've spoken to some of the officers, the commander and stuff, and said, look, I've been doing it for 15 years. This is the first time I have to show up for these meetings, regardless of what's going on. As far as, I'm gonna rebut what Mr. Saya said, in this type of business, yes, we don't sell anything. So I knew when I started, that was gonna be based on per capita. Bringing the people in, is what's gonna pay your rent, how many people you have in there, and so on and so forth, which I know that with 350 people on a Saturday pays off my rent, just some extra money to have left over. As far as having it open for employees and so on, that's just smoke and mirrors, because I also own a couple of bars in Harlingen with licenses, and we have special nights for those people. We have service industry nights. They come in, sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm not a public speaker. And so it's just, the thing is that it's going to happen when you're in business involved with alcohol, when you're going to have 200, 300, 400 people in there, all types of personalities. Personally, I'm the one who started this. I submitted the Austin ordinance and, showed it to some people because it is affecting everybody. Like I said, I've been doing it for 15 years and it started to trickle downhill. And I'm for closing at 2:15. If not, like I said, do away with TABC. We'll have TABC if we're not going to follow the rules that they have for the state. And pretty much it. And everybody else, and I actually told some police officers, if you had told me the first weekend I stayed open until 4, that we had to close at 2, I would have done it. Nobody else would have opened it up. So there's no precedence for the BYOB sector. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Is there anyone else that wishes to come up and address the commission? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to close the public hearing, Mayor.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close public hearing. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Who's online?
Commissioner Macias is online.
Oh, I didn't know she left us. Okay.
Yeah. We also have a motion to remove.
I'll move
from
to
the
draw
table.
from the table.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
So I'll open up on this and I agree that, yeah, we have not seen problems over the last 15 years. I think within the last 12 to 18 months is when the problems have really ramped up. So ensuring that there's not a proliferation of this, I think is the top priority for the city commission and for law enforcement. In consideration of those that need to wrap up commitments and things of that nature, I personally don't have an objection to granting a grace period for the existing businesses to close, with the caveat that, well, of course, it has to pass by the commission, but with the additional caveat that you don't have a bunch of instances. If it turns out, we're getting 2 or 3 calls in 1 month to go out to your establishment when we've given you time just to wrap up, that's too much. And I think you would have to forfeit that privilege at that point. Those are my thoughts on the matter.
Is that something we can stipulate?
You could amend the effective date of the ordinance. So yes, that could be.
I wouldn't want to amend the effective date because I wouldn't want there to be a window for new businesses to open. That's why I wouldn't want to change the date. I would want to say no new businesses. And then what would we do to allow the existing ones to wrap up?
How long would you give them to wrap up?
Either the 90 days or 180 days requested, whatever the commission feels is appropriate.
You could move to have the ordinance effective immediately, but ask that enforcement get stayed for 90 days.
For existing establishments.
For existing establishments.
And to include those 3 strikes incidents?
Absolutely.
That's correct.
You're a business owner.
Well, where are we getting 60 days or 180 days?
Just how far out do you usually book events? Or book
Oh.
bands?
I think we should consider how long their lease is as well.
That definitely.
I think 30 days is not going to be enough. I think one of them is almost 60 days new or 30 days new. I would actually think we should do at least 6 months, at least 180 days. We just have to be careful with where we go with this. I do think it is a very slippery slope. Those are my thoughts.
What do you mean about in terms of slippery slope?
Well, drunk driving is dangerous. And when you're out at 4 and 5 in the morning, that is what's going to happen. They don't have to sell the alcohol there. It's everywhere. They mentioned something about homes. But that's been going on for many, many years. I don't know if people rent their homes out. I've never heard of that, but I don't doubt it. So I just think we have to put something in place that won't allow drunk driving to be a norm in Brownsville. We don't have enough officers at night. We really just need to consider a fair thing for the business owners so they can get their money back and something that's fair, but it has to be strict.
And these businesses that are being considered grandfathered, those stipulations, they would have to adhere to those if we approve this, right?
And I think even put the 4 a.m. restriction, not allow them to keep operating until 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And above and beyond that, I think I'd like to meet with council and PD later on, because I think to Rick's comments, there are loopholes out there, not just private establishments, but there are other loopholes that people could take advantage of. And I don't want to mention them right now because I don't want to put that out there for somebody to go out and do. But I would like to meet with you guys to talk about it later.
I do have a question. You've been doing it for 15 years, you say. What time do you close right now? 2:15. Okay, so. Okay, I appreciate it.
If I have to, I'm gonna have to bring a license and open up with a license. But it's you know that you can open up and not selling anything, you know the risk you're taking.
And you do not have a TABC license? Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? If not, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to adopt as part of this second and final reading, ordinance number 2023-1733, to go into effect immediately with a grace period for those businesses that are existing of 180 days, with the stipulations that it is a 4 a.m. on the grace. And if they have infractions that PD reports, that they can lose and forfeit that grace period. That work?
Yeah. How many infractions?
Chief? Agreed.
I agree with that. But what kind of infractions? Because on here I saw a 911 drop call. That wouldn't be fair. A stolen vehicle wouldn't be fair. I mean, it has to be something that's actually already done by TABC, right? If there's a fight on the parking lot and we've never done anything, why do it to them either? So we have to be fair again.
Absolutely. I mean, adopting the new ordinance, it calls for new guidelines. So any one of those that is violated, that would constitute an immediate violation of the new ordinance. And of course, anything and everything else that it's already governed by TABC law.
That works.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, what was the number? 1? Was that your number?
1, but if it's an infraction of what's covered in the ordinance, those restrictions, or what's covered by TABC.
All right, we have a motion on the board. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not,
I would like to, you ought to consider instead of 1, because I just think I don't know which ones they are. I don't know what the infractions are. And
I think we can put them back up on the screen.
Can you
We've
put
got the
that up
slide
real
that has
quick?
those. No, go forward. Forward. Go 1, right there.
Right there.
well,
This
that's-
is some of
Yeah,
them.
that's easy.
And
I mean,
then
if
what
they don't
was the-
do that, I mean,
What was the previous slide? Yeah.
Hours of operation should also be an infraction.
with the same grace period TABC does, which I believe is 15 minutes. Is that correct? I mean, there's nothing there that's too difficult to do. All right, thank you.
all right, any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Next, we have items for individual consideration. Item number 1, approval on second and final reading on ordinance number 2023-1724, adopting city board policies, tabled on November 7, 2023.
We have
All
to
right.
untable this?
I'm sorry?
Do we have to untable this?
Yeah, this was on table. I can give the presentation and then y'all can on table after. All right, thank you. So it's been some time since we last brought this up, but we've had some changes. Cody Folk, B Pub's attorney is on. If you have any questions on how it affects BPUB, he's able to answer those. But essentially, these, thank you. Essentially, these are creating staggered 2-year terms. For most of the positions, they already have those 2-year terms unless otherwise stated in state law, resolution, or ordinance. Terms start January 1st and expire December 31st. Appointments will be considered quarterly. There will be no term limits. We do have 7-member boards. Each individual on commission will have their own appointment, 8+ member boards. Each member has their own appointment. The remaining members will be filled based on eligibility and qualifications. They have to be residents of Brownsville or have some kind of relationship with the city. We also have certain criteria that will prevent someone from being on a board. For example, no individual who's presently a city vendor or presently owns a substantial interest in any company. No individual who has obtained business incentives from a city board during a 5-year period. No spouses or individuals related within 1 degree of consanguinity or affinity may simultaneously serve on the same city board. No individual who has pending litigation or a claim against the city may serve. No person shall be appointed a member of the board who's in default of payment. And this was in the prior policy, but no individual may serve on a city board who has a felony conviction. This is the part that's different, from which the individual has not been pardoned or otherwise released from the resulting disabilities. City Commission may remove a board member at any time. And except for city members serving as alternate, temporary, or task force members, no city board member may serve concurrently on more than 2 city boards as a regular member. They must attend 75% of the board meetings within their term to be considered for reappointment. 3 consecutive unexcused absences will automatically forfeit the position. Those positions will not come to City Commission. You will be just notified of the vacancy. A special meeting that's right in between the 3 unexcused absences will not reset, so it would be counted. There are built-in automatically excused absences, such as personal, family, illness, death, injury, service in armed forces. And then, of course, there is a catch-all. If one does not fit one of those automatically excused absences, the member can take it before the board, and the board can take action on that. They will have oath of office, which is already required, but we will also start providing orientation upon appointment, and then regular training will be provided by the board liaisons. The board meetings will be governed by Robert Rules of Order, their bylaws, or rules of procedure. If they don't currently have a bylaw, we do have a template that's part of the ordinance so they can adopt. The newest change is that advisory boards, since we've had an issue with advisory boards meeting, and since they're purely advisory boards are not subject to TOMA, so they still may meet, but they do have to post the agenda 72 hours before the stated time meeting. And that's only for advisory boards. And that's it. If you all have any questions.
Go
ahead.
I have a question on one of those bullets. I know that we traditionally have appointed in July and December, and it states that it's quarterly. Is there some kind of plan of action for us to start doing it, that practice, or?
As far as the quarterly appointments?
Correct.
Yeah, so we
Because it
do
would
have,
coincide together.
yeah, so we do tend to have vacancies mid-year. Someone no longer can serve. Those are the ones that we would bring in the quarterly. The reason why it would be January 1st and December 31st, if they come mid-year or in the middle of the year, they would be fulfilling the remainder of unexpired term. So at some point, those terms will then fall in place with the remainder of the terms.
And let me piggyback off that. My concern with that would be, this means every board would have appointments that we'd be having to make in December. And I think that some of you guys are new, but I've seen colleagues, we get restless when we've got a long agenda and then we've got 20 boards to appoint to. I think that's excessive. So I think putting them all at one time of year, at the same time of year, I think that may be a challenge for us. I think it may be smarter to have half our boards January through December and the other half like July 1st through June 30th. I think that's something we should look at.
Well, what we've done is, so this has been an evolution. Before we didn't have any, it was just, we didn't really have any. It was just all year long. And I believe that was in 2019. In 2020, 2021, they felt the commission felt it was excessive. Sometimes we were having meetings in December that were like 10 boards or 12 boards. And so that was when it was recommended that why don't we have it quarterly towards the end of every quarter, so that it's not too many and have that consistency.
Yeah, and I agree with that if they're quarterly, but if the terms for everyone is January 1 through December 31, then quarterly, all we're going to be doing is filling vacancies that are unexpected for the unexpired term. Those would still come up at the end of December that we'd have to be appointing for January anyway. So I think, and especially if they're staggered, where half the board members are 1 year, half the board members are the next year, because they're 2-year terms, that means every city board is going to have appointments in December, even if they were appointed quarterly, because the quarterlies are for an unexpired term. And we've seen it before where our colleagues are like, let's just table the rest of these because this is too many. And why set ourselves up to go down that path again?
I think you also have to consider that currently there are boards that have a January through December term. And so to truly do quarterly appointments, we'd be having to convert some of those terms into January, December, maybe June to July, right? That would be cutting some people's terms in half for those that are currently serving.
And that's the other rub, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't we just appoint to BCIC? And under their current bylaws, they're 3-year terms? Or 4-year terms?
There are 2 4-year terms.
They're 2 4-year terms. So we just appointed some folks for a 4-year term. Does that mean if we pass this, they're going to lose 2 of the years that
No.
we're just appointed to?
So there is a term there is language in there that says staggered 2-year terms unless otherwise
But I
provided
think
by state law.
We just, for BCSC, said 2 years.
4 times.
It's 4 2-year terms.
Yeah, 4 2-year terms.
But they're 2-year terms?
2-year
Okay,
terms.
very good. I know somebody's got 3-year terms that we just appointed recently.
But even if they have 3-year terms or more, if it's by resolution or ordinance that they have a different term, that will control.
Okay.
I have a question. I don't know, if this could work, but would it be possible now that every position on the commission has an appointment for every board to have, if this is going to be on the agenda, have those appointments already in with the city administration, and that comes up as one item with all the appointments? And then we
Oh, I
approve
like that.
That way to streamline the process.
Yes.
Rather than it go one individual
So-
by individual.
Part of this ordinance will, we already have in place what we call recording secretaries. We're renaming it as board liaisons. Part of the board liaison duties, we actually have a training that's coming up December 18th. Part of their duties will be to keep attendance, keep the absences that are excused noted as well. And then also assist the city secretary as applications come in. They're able to also communicate, we have a vacancy and here are the applicants. So that when we actually have a city commission meeting, it will already be on the agenda as far as who the individual will be. Individual meaning commissioner will already know who they want to appoint to it. So that when we have a resolution appointing 2 board members, you will not be, thinking on the dais who you're going to appoint. You would know already. So that's where it would help to do it quarterly. So even if they have let's say they have a December expiration, we'd be coming to you in June or July, so you have that appointment already in mind. And then if you look now, the particular resolutions we have on, and you'll see that later tonight, those resolutions are blank on the particular part where we have the nomination. The goal is to then have those already filled out so that you're just approving resolution number, whatever it is, which would then appoint everybody that's on that slate.
I love that suggestion, Mayor. The only other thing I'd add to that is we want to make sure those liaisons have that to us far enough in advance. I know like right now tonight, I know I've got an appointment on one of the boards later. I don't have that ready because I didn't realize that till I got the packet on Friday. So I think if we could get that at least 2 weeks in advance, although I think 30 days would be preferable. That way we've got time to look for citizens in our districts willing to serve with interest in those boards, and then we have time to get it to staff to make the packet.
Yes, so the goal would be, for some boards, we have done it where we notified commissioners in advance, and some we haven't. After December 18th, when we have the training, you should be seeing the notices of the vacancies well before. So you might be appointing somebody in June or July for a term that won't start until January, and that's okay. Most elected officials are usually voted in, and then they have a period of waiting. That period of waiting can be for that particular board member or committee member. That can be a period where they end up doing their public information training, open records training, and then orientation.
And I saw one of the provisions of this new, is the posting of these board vacancies. I believe I saw city secretary's website.
Yes.
So that's also how we would be able to.
Yeah, we would be putting out more information on the city secretary's website. And I know that city management in the past, Helen has requested that we put on social media the vacancies as
Very
well,
good, yes.
so that we can get more people in the public engaged.
Okay.
I have a couple more.
Yes, sir.
First is under definitions, 2-313, letter G, and this is just grammar, where it says a governmental body means every deliberative body having rule or quasi judicial power. Is that supposed to say rulemaking? Because rule by itself just sounded a little odd.
That's correct. It should be rulemaking.
Okay. So that would be one correction. Next, a couple of sections down, letter J, regular meetings. The way I read that, where it says, any scheduled meeting established by state statute, city charter, ordinance, resolution, or minute entry. My concern there would be, I think in the past, we've given boards some flexibility. So if it turns out that there's a new slate of members and they say, well, you know what, this lunchtime meetings are not convenient for us, we'd like to move to 5:30. Or Tuesdays don't work, we'd like to move to Thursdays. And right now they have that flexibility. The way this reads to me is it would have to come to the commission for approval. It doesn't, I don't see the flexibility for the board themselves to do it. Unless when we say resolution refers to resolution by that board versus resolution by the commission.
Yeah, we can clarify.
Yeah, we still want them to stick to whether it's monthly meetings, if that's what the requirement is, but I think we should give them a little latitude if a new slate says, I can't make that time. But
Okay.
I think we just had a board do that recently where they moved their meetings from 4 PM to 5 PM for work schedules. Next one is, let's see, I think we covered terms of office and appointments and the staggered terms. I think the only other one I have is 2-318D. This is the section on official notification and acceptance. D says the appointee must submit the required personal financial statement required by the city's code of ethics, and any additional form is required by statutes. Failure to submit the required statement to the city secretary's office within 90 days of the acceptance of an appointment or reappointment shall be considered as having vacated their position. I want to make sure that means they're not going to carry over. They're not going to sit there till the end of the term or till another appointment happens. If they're in violation of Chapter 38 by not filing that, that should mean automatically, if the 90 days has passed, they cannot come back until they either file or get replaced.
We can add language in there to that provision that if they are removed by this provision, they will not hold over.
Yeah. We want to make sure nobody's taking advantage of that as a loophole.
Okay.
Those are the only things I had.
Any other questions?
I'll move to approve with the corrections stated.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Item number 2, consideration and action to acknowledge the finance director's financial statements and cash investment report for the city of Brownsville for the fourth quarter ended September 30, 2023.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Lupe Granado, the Finance Director. In your packet, you have about an 80-page report, quarterly report that was advanced to you. What I'm going to go over is a presentation, quick presentation to highlight some of the major items that we'd like to bring to your attention. Again, first of all, this is an unaudited financials. Financials are going to be audited by March, April. They should be complete and should be finalized, but these are just draft financials. Highlights right here, what you see is revenues and transfers, 137 million, expenditures 142. Well, right off the bat, you say, well, we spend more than revenues, but this was an anticipation. During the budget, 2013 budget, we had earmarked about $12 million to reduce our fund balance. That's why there's more expenses than revenues on here. Sales tax revenues continue to be good, about $43.7 million. Property taxes combination of property taxes, this is a combination of debt service and general fund, combination of about $56 million. That is our number one revenue generator for the city as a whole. Cash transfers from PUB, $11.6 million. Not as much, but it is a good chunk of money that we get from PUB. Landfill generated about $20.4 million. Veterans Bridge continues to have increases in their revenue collections, totaled $4.3 million. On this schedule, basically it's the general fund revenues. The ones that I want to highlight, the major ones on there is the first two columns, which is sales tax, property tax, and then PUB and operating transfers. Those are the major revenues for the city. On the first one, sales tax, we got about $2.2 million compared to last year. On property taxes, about $700,000 in the general fund. On the PUB transfer, we did have a slight decrease of it, about $400,000. And on the operating transfers, we got an increase of about $1.8 million. Operating transfers come from the bridge fund and landfill fund. Some of the sales tax highlights on the left-hand side, again, $43.8 million. As you see on the last three columns on your right-hand side, you see major increases on sales taxes. Started in fiscal year 2021-22, we had double-digit increases, about $17.9 million, $13.6 million. That equated to about $5 million in those last 2 years. This year's, we still had more, but we didn't have that much of an increase. We only had about 5.2 increase or $2.2 million. That means sales taxes are beginning to normalize a little bit. On the right-hand side, you'll see the bar graphs represent the sales tax collected month over month. The yellow line on there gives you a percentage increase or decrease from the previous year. Well, you'll see in May 2023, you have your peaks and valleys, 16% compared to last time. You have decreases of, actually, on month of April, it should say a decrease of $2.5 million, not a positive, but a decrease. Overall, what we do is we get a rolling 12, the last 12 months, and we kind of trend, it kind of evens out. For the last 12 months, ending, it was a 5.48%. It's always kind of very similar to year-end performance as you have here. But again, one of the items to kind of qualify is the sales tax. We're having increases, but not as good as we had the last 2 years. Again, property taxes, major revenue at $57.4 million. 62% is collected in the general fund for maintenance and operation. 38% is by debt service to take care of debt service payments. PUB, cash transfer, there was a slight decrease in the PUB transfer, about $348,000. And there was an actual increase in PUB utility expenditures. This is an inverse relationship. As our utilities increase, their transfer decreases. So there is no free utilities from PUB. There's we actually pay for the utilities. So it's in our best interest to keep our utility consumption down so that our transfer doesn't get affected. Other revenue sources on here, the intergovernmental on here, the very top one, that's basically grant monies that we get. We do have a decrease of $2.4 million. That's attributed to decrease in immigrant influx monies, auto theft funds, COVID grants. Again, but there's a relationship of the revenues and expenses. Whatever revenues we have similar expenses. So we have decreases in grant revenues, we have decreases in expenditures. Fees and services, one of the notable items on here, ambulance service fees increase about $922,000 increase, which is good. Fines and forfeitures, we have $387,000. That's mainly attributed to municipal court activities. Interest income, that was one of the big ones, increases $1.9 million. And that again is attributed to the rising interest rates. On the expenditure side, you have public safety. Public safety is not only fire and PD, you have building inspections, traffic, areas that are covered in that area. Our total expenditures increase about $2 million from previous years. There's an error on the last bullet point at the bottom when it says total transfers, $0 million. That's actually incorrect. It actually should be $17.9 million. And that's represented in the column that says operating transfers there, $17.9 million. General fund balance, total fund balance, again, because revenues were under expenditures, it dropped to $48.6 million. $48.6 million, $39.6 million that's the unassigned fund balance. Basically, that's available to spend. The decrease attributed to one-time non-recurring costs that we budgeted in fiscal year 22 and 23. We also have an unassigned fund balance included in there of $1.3 million that was not spent last fiscal year and going to be rolled over to this fiscal year. Good news is we're above our fund balance policy of 90 days. We're at about 101 days of operating according to our fund balance, but again, it's not final until the audit's complete. I don't see a material change on this. On the other funds, these are all the other funds that we have. The special revenues, those are the ones in peach color. The notable one on the right far side, you see a negative 804,000. That's a community grant, revenue secured expenses. What happened here is we just didn't recognize the revenue so far, and we will be recognizing them. So that would be at zero. The ones in purple, that's our debt service, whether bond fund or non-bonded funds, those are in the positive. The ones in the green, those are the enterprise funds. These are enterprise funds, we strive to keep these in the black. One of the notable ones on here, motor vehicle parking system, it's in the deficit about $8,000. We plan to add additional transfer about $10,000 to make sure that fund is in the black at the end of the fiscal year. And another one is the event center. That one will need a little additional transfer. The revenues didn't meet projections on that one. Employee benefit funds, our contributions are exceeding our medical claims and disbursements. They actually went up about $500,000. With that $500,000 increase, we have a fund balance on there about $2.2 million. The major expenses on this would be your medical claims, about 67%, your prescription, about 21%, and your specific stop loss on there, about 6%. Some of the economic indicators, Veterans Bridge is doing very good. Again, we had $2.1 million increase from last year. On the activity, again, commercial crossings are increasing about 10.9. As those increases our transfer. Building permits, as expected, the activity, even though it shows a negative, we still see positive activity because there's still activity, even though there was a decrease from last year. So yes, we didn't have as much of a good year as last year, but we did have a good year regardless of about 360 million added in permit values, not per evaluation, but just permit values. And that translates to increases in our property taxes next year. And lastly, we have investment policy. We have basically broken down into three major categories: public funds, pools accounts, interest-bearing demand accounts, and certificate of deposits. Our weighted average maturity is 17 days. We shouldn't have anything over 270 days. We're compliant. And our average year is 4.49%. And the yield that we compared against the Treasury, which is the 5.32%. That concludes the presentation. You have any questions?
Lupe, thank you for putting all of this together. Of course, I'm not a finance expert, so I tend to look at this through the eyes of an average citizen. And I did have a couple of questions on the first few slides in your deck. If we go back to starting with the fiscal year 2023 Q4 financial highlights. So I'm looking at the two amounts there on sales tax of 43.7 and property tax of 56 million. And I may just not be reading this right, but if you go to the next page where it's showing the income in the different areas, this stops at 38 million. And the first two columns are sales taxes and property taxes. Is there a reason that doesn't match up with the prior slide?
Yes, maybe I didn't. On the property tax is broken up into two sections, which is this one right here. This one right here, of the 57 million, 35 million goes to general fund, which is on that schedule. And the rest goes to the debt service fund, which is $21.9 million.
Perfect. And that was going to be my next question, is like, what's the difference between here and the other one? So you covered that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So we continue to be strong in our financials, and we'll also be looking at a mid-budget amendment first quarter next year. We do have a whole list of items that weren't able to, operating requests from our different departments that were requested, and you've received that Excel. And we also have some matching funds for some of our transportation projects, but that'll come after discussion with directors, the prioritization that will come back to you with recommendations. We have also received some comments from different commissioners on what they'd like to see as well. So we're glad that we were able to increase the compensation of 3.5%, right? Our first COLA since 2014. And we really made that a priority so that then we can come back to you with a mid-budget amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion. If there's no other comments, I'll make the motion to acknowledge the finance director's financial statements and cash investment report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Lupe.
Item number 3, consideration and action to approve the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation's deficits and redemption of outstanding obligations and the resolution related thereto.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to present the resolution for the defeasance and the redemption of our outstanding sales tax revenue bonds associated with the Brownsville Sports Park. This screen provides a snapshot of the first paragraph of the resolution. The full resolution was included in your packet. The resolution is to authorize BCIC to settle the remaining sales tax revenue bond series 2010, 2012, and 2016. The BCIC board approved the resolution on November 30th, 2023. The estimated payout is around $3.27 million. These figures are preliminary and subject to change based on the closing date, which we're expecting the first week of January. As we recently learned, having these debt obligations restricted what we could do to the undeveloped parcels of the sports park. If we eliminated the existing debt obligation, it removes any restrictions associated with these bonds. This elimination enables BCIC to consider developing, selling, or leasing these parcels, adjacent to the sports park. And having a surplus of funds, as Lupe says, we've had a really killer few years. The BCIC board of directors assigned $3.3 million of the surplus for this budget year, and to settle out the outstanding sports park debt obligations 4 years ahead of schedule. Settling our debt obligations and removing the limitations empowers BCIC as well as the city of Brownsville to develop these parcels. This collaboration effort is poised to improve the sports park long-term sustainability. I can't speak today. The long-term sustainability and encourage the surrounding area's growth, ultimately boosting the city's sales tax revenue. So our next steps. Closing date is the first week of January 2024. After that, we want to proceed with transferring the deed of the developed areas of the Brownsville Sports Park to the city with a clean title. After that, we want to issue an RFP for the market, financial feasibility, and economic impact study for the undeveloped parcels of the Brownsville Sports Park. We consider that like phase 1. And after what is the outcome of phase 1, we want to proceed with phase 2 with a developer's RFP for a solicitation and selection process.
I would like to say that this is, we have a subcommittee of the City Commission and BCIC, so the RFP process will be in coordination with the City of Brownsville City Commission.
Yes.
Thank you.
So any questions in regards to the resolution?
Before we get to the point where we're planning to put out RFPs for just individual parcels that still remain, are we going to look at what a master plan would look like?
That's what we're expecting for the RFP would be the economic study for the whole area.
Okay.
So that way we're not hodgepodging just our area, but we were looking at all the other undeveloped areas, and so we can have a collaboration with even the owners of the parcels that are around the sports park.
No, I think even not just for the undeveloped parcels, but I think even looking at the park as a whole. Because
Yeah.
is it going to be that only people who are interested in being right next to a soccer field or right next to a baseball field are going to bid on this? Or is it that we're going to be willing to be open-minded and say this could go a different direction in the future?
Yeah, what we expect for that RFP is to have more community engagements with that, so we can have it with, we can have city hall meetings as well as with the stakeholders, as well as the surrounding areas, get their input to see what is feasible. And what we really are looking for is more of a mixed use, so that way it sustains the sports park as well as continue growing that surrounding area.
I think that part of the RFP, Corey, needs to also be like a land use. So it's not only a market and feasibility study, it's or economic impact. It's really a land use study as well, to your point of compatibility. I'd also say there's restrictions on the developed properties, which is city park. And
Yep.
so there's state restrictions on what we can do. So we have to be very careful with what's already developed and needs to be, is city property and is utilized by sports athletics, and that needs to be preserved versus what's undeveloped, which is, that's why they're paying off the debt obligations. The paying off of the debt obligations allows us to be able to do the mixed use.
Yeah.
And so here we are, BCAC is being proactive in paying out the debt so that we can do something with those undeveloped portions of land.
At the end of the day is the sustainability of the sports park. We constantly, it's kicking the can down the road, and we want to stop that. We want to develop these areas so in efforts that what the purpose of the sports park can come to, what it's supposed to be, and help sustain it. So it will eliminate the obligation of us with the maintenance and operations of the sports park because it is sustainable. So our bond counsel was very nice and proposed a motion language for it, if you would consider.
There aren't any further questions. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation's defeasance and redemption of outstanding obligations as provided in the resolution approved by the corporation's board on November 30th, 2023.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
It's a
you,
great
Tori.
day. I've been with BCIC since 2010, and this debt service has been always a part of our budget, and for the longest time, it was more than 50%. So this is paying it off 4 years early is a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, we have board appointments. Item number 1, consideration and action on resolution 2023-133 to appoint or reappoint 3 members to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Merry Christmas, City Commission members. My name is Chris Nelson. I'm the Bicycle and Pedestrian Planner for the city. As you can see, we have 3 vacancies on our board of 7 right now. The vacancies are, we need an appointment from District At-Large A, At-Large B, and then District 3. And we do have 1 applicant.
I know Commissioner Gowan will probably wait until she returns.
I'll be holding mine as well.
All right. I think we're gonna
Thank you, Chris.
table this one.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, we have consideration and action on resolution number 2023-118-8 to appoint 2 members to the Brownsville Public Library System Advisory Board.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Our Library Advisory Board still has 2 pending appointments, one to be chosen by Mayor Cowan and the other one by Commissioner Macias. On the next slide, we do have some applicants.
I'd like to appoint Audria West.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carried. I don't know if
Is
Commissioner Macias is still on.
Still online?
No.
I can't.
Okay,
she's-
we'll have
she's
to
not
table
on.
hers.
So we'll have to move her appointment to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, it is now 6:23. If you would like to make a motion to go into executive.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All
The
those opposed?
following,
Ayes have it, motion
the
carries.
following agenda item will be considered during executive closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, and 551.072, real property deliberation related to bids received from the Cameron County Tax Resale of November 7, 2023.
She okay?
Qué loco, ¿verdad? Lo acabo de comer.
It is now 6:35. Item number 1. Discussion and possible action on resolution numbers 2023-137 through resolution number 2023-139, approving or rejecting the bid offers received on the tax resale properties on November 7, 2023.
Mayor, I'll move to approve resolution numbers 2023-137, 138, and 139.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
All right, we have a
Second.
motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, meeting adjourned, everyone. Merry Christmas.
6:36.
It is 6:36. Meeting has ended.